All right. All right. Welcome, everyone, to another series of Acts on Stage. My name is Robert Baker. I am the president of the board for Acts on Stage. And if you don't know anything about Acts on Stage, I'll give you a little insight about who we are. We are a theater focused on the center of voices for the people of color and creativities of faith. One of the things that we focus on is creating space, not only for entertainment, but also for important conversations. Um, and today's conversation, we're talking with Black fathers, something that we certainly have seemed to have been an extinct of over the last series of years. So I'm looking for an upbeat, fun, and reflective, and maybe even vulnerable conversation with some of the guests that I have on. So with that, so my guests are.
Hi, I'm Matthew Reese. I have four children. My oldest is Makana, second Judah, and then I have Micah and Joshua.
How y'all doing? I'm Jay Raymond, father of two sons, one age 20, other 16. And if God decides to be funny, maybe another one.
How you doing? DaNell Daymond, father of Miles, who's 16, and Christian, who's 12.
What's good, people? It is Isiah Anderson Jr. It's a pleasure to be here. I am the father of two boys, Jamero D. Jackson and Marcus D. Anderson. And they are both 38 years old. So I had them when I was 8.
both 38.
Yeah, they're both 38. One's biological, one's adopted.
Okay. That's the best with you. And then one of my favorite guys of all time, and one because he's my son, and that is Mr. Orlando Baker.
I'm Orlando Baker. I'm the father of one. His name is Orlando Baker Jr. We call him Deuce. Happy to be here.
All right, and again, my name is Robert Baker, and I'm the father of three. Orlando, who you just met, who's my middle child. Then I have Torrance Baker, my oldest, and then Zaria Baker, one daughter. So great to have each and every one of you here. We're looking to have a great time, have some great conversation, and just talk about fatherhood. We as I said, in my opening statements, seems like the Black fathers have become this extinct kind of thing. It's like we're no longer existing. The world doesn't want to accept that we are really in our children's life. And so, we want to have some conversations around that tonight and just kind of talk about it. And so in recent headlines starting to circulate prompted ending, the observation of Father's Day because it was disrespectful to women. What's your take on that?
I can jump in. My birthday is actually June 19th, so it's always a day or two from Father's Day, no matter what it falls on. And I was very clear when dating my wife that I like Father's Day and my birthday to be distinct holidays. I think it's always good to honor your parents, as the word says. And so I definitely would disagree with that. I think it's a day that, your kids get to, learn how to honor their mother and their father in different ways. And it takes the village or the family to assist in doing that. So I actually enjoy both holidays because they get to see both of us in action and how we honor the other one. So
I guess I would be hard pressed to know who started that. Was it a male or a female who decided Father's Day is disrespectful to women? I don't get it. I'm not going to pretend to get it. I like Brother Reese thinks that it's a good thing when you honor your parents. You choose to do it on Father's Day, then so be it. But you can make it a regular, thing to do as well. But yeah, that it's disrespectful to women is a loss to me.
Now that I am a father, only a year in, that it's a day that I feel like should be just as important as Mother's Day. I don't see where the disrespect is. I feel like for the fathers who are in their child's life that they're still unappreciated. Just like the pressure of knowing that you not only have to think for yourself, you have to think for your child or children. And I feel like days like that go a long way. Even like when I was younger, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really appreciate it the way I do now. Like seeing taking one day out of 365 days to just like, you know, cherish my dad and, you know, let him know how much we see his hard work. Because it's rare that your kids or you, when you were a child, came home and been like, oh, dad, you know, I see your hard work. Or, you know, hope you had a good day. You know, it just wasn't, at least for me, I didn't just every day go to my dad and be like, oh, how was your day? Or, you know, you need this, you need that. So I feel like one day out of the year to honor all fathers is special. I feel like it's something that we should, you know, continue to do. And
It's totally unfair because on Mother's Day, the women get all the sales and buy up everything. It's worse enough, all the stores are created for them. And then they're going to take a day from us where we can get our deal. Seriously, though, I never really paid attention to the significance of Father's Day because I didn't grow up with a male figure in the household. I grew up in a single parent family. So to me, I looked at it as, you know, every day just honor men that are in the position of being a father, and why take a particular day to do that. And the same with Mother's Day, you know, why take one particular day to do that? Yes, I honor both of them. And I think that the whole idea, which I'm just learning now, of canceling Father's Day is it's more reactive to what has happened over the last 5-6 years in terms of, you know, Hollywood industry. And I think that it's unfair to make that everyone's problem or concern at this point.
The new rule is basically there are no rules. So you just break every rule there is. And so it's kind of like inside of that, you create your new rule. And so on the other end, if no one honors me on Father's Day but my kids, I'm good. That at the end of the day. And the truth of the matter is, I almost forgot Father's Day was coming. And that's because the relationship I have with my kids is so consistent. It's just another day. And so if it has to be that highlighted, then it's almost like there's an imbalance on what needs to happen before that day and after that day.
Yeah.
So I look at Father's Day from the standpoint of wanting to honor my father more than I want to be honored as a father, because the greatest reward is me being able to have a consistent relationship with my kids every single day of the year. So, and nobody can take that away from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great, DaNell, and you know, everyone definitely spoke well, and I certainly concur with everything that was said. You know, when you're talking about, you know, canceling out Father's Day or whatnot, I mean, you know, society has just completely thrown in our face that we are not present. And so here we are again with someone saying, what's the point? How is it disrespectful to women? How is it disrespectful to mothers? When, as Jay said, you know, they get, I mean, clearly they get so much more than we do. And I honor women. Don't get me wrong. I think it is important, because obviously we wouldn't be here if we didn't have women in our lives. And so, but it's important that, you know, that the fathers are also recognized in certain things. You know, I mean, we see it. You know, you call to get a reservation on Mother's Day, and you're probably not going to get one. But call on Father's Day to get a reservation, and they say, hey, well, what time you want to come? We got it wide open. You know, and it's not really fair. But, you know, and that's just the way society looks at fathers, you know, and so we have to change that. We have to change the way that structure is. And DaNell, you said something I kind of want to deviate just for a second. So DaNell, I'm gonna go back to you for a second. You had mentioned about having a relationship with your kids, your boys. Talk to us about the decision you made for career that took you, you know, miles away from them, yet you're still pretty much almost in their face every day. Talk to us about that transition and how that works out for you, and how you can inspire somebody else that may be in that same boat that you're currently swimming in right now.
Well, basically, one of the things that happened for me, I didn't really ask for the job. You know, I was comfortable working in my career while I was, for the Seattle School District in Seattle, but I had a passion to really want to work in music full time. That's what I was called to do. And so I put that in the atmosphere. And when the opportunity was presented to me, I looked at it from an opportunity to be able to provide for my kids in a capacity that was not going to allow me in the Seattle area. Because if it would have happened, it would have happened already. And so at that point, my oldest was actually entering in middle school, and my youngest was actually just beginning elementary school. And I can tell you, if there was, I don't know if there's ever a good time to really be away from your kids. I'm just saying, there's not. But I do know, I haven't looked at it from the standpoint of if I got an offer to go, if I had the desire to be in the military, I had to be shipped away from my family, or if I was, a professional basketball player and I was asked to go play for another, an expansion team that was away from my home. Every decision I made was always connected to my kids, and so even when I actually factored in and bargained the deal, the very first year, for an entire year, I was able to come back 1 week a month consistently. And then after that, I was able to do it for an extension for 2 years. And so I just started making sure I was consistent. I never skipped a beat. But the interesting thing about it is it's getting harder. And I'll tell you now that there were so many blessings that happened in that opportunity. It opened up doors for me to go around the world. When I went on the national show of America's Got Talent, I was able to have my kids come with me and be there. So it's like a lot of the opportunities that happened, they were able to share in, so they understood. So I think when they get older, they're going to understand sacrifice, because I never skipped a beat, as you said, gratefully, of being absent with them. I just had to become creative in how I interacted with them. Now, I'll tell you this, several years ago, if there was no technology, there was no FaceTime, there was I don't even know what would have happened, because that disconnect would be there. What I have decided to do is just be as present as I possibly can. And the Lord allowed that. This is how I knew it was God. Even with COVID, I never skipped a beat. I spent more time in this last year with my kids and never lost employment. I was around them so much, I got a chance to take them out of town. I just did a road trip a couple weeks ago, and we've grown closer. So I'm just grateful that God has orchestrated for me to pursue my dreams and keep my relationship as close as I can for this time. So yeah.
I like to jump in and talk about how I had to do the opposite of DaNell. And it's no surprise, I'm from the East Coast, relocated out here in 2012 to the East Side, as you guys call it. And there's no family out here, with the exception of my son's grandparents and their mother. And they don't even act like they're from here. They fly back into the East Coast a lot. And so I had to stay for them because there was no other family structure or family members here. And it was challenging because I had to take a L, so to speak, in terms of giving up things that I had set up back east that was, life-changing in terms of being a business owner, being on television, writing in newspapers, to come to a total place where no one would, knew that, and then try and tell them, well, I'm here, and I left all of that. They wouldn't understand. It would be red flags. So I made the decision to be here, and my God, DaNell and the rest of you guys, if I didn't, it would have been catastrophic. Present day, they've looked at my sacrifice and they use it as motivation and fuel to not shall I say, been steered away from any goals or dreams that they have, despite what others have said. And it's been rewarding. But again, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like a Band-Aid that's constantly ripped off. But I'm super proud that, no matter how you do this thing, we're all making sacrifices here.
Right.
And I think based on the two stories we just heard, it's a, you'll hear a lot of people talk about black men who run away from their kids. And here we have stories where men have ran to their kids and want to make sure. And I know more of those stories than I know more of black men running from. Man, I'm gonna be dead honest with you. I know more stories about black men who are running in the lives of their kids than I do the opposite. But society will lead us to believe, and I think along with the whole question of Mother's Day or Father's Day, what kind of silly competition is that? Right? That's just a way to keep us divided. It's like, why? How come we can't just be fathers celebrating mothers and then mothers celebrating fathers and keep celebrating both and we keep it popping? I mean, I say let's keep running towards.
Yeah. And those are both inspiring stories that, as you said, Isiah, even though DaNell, moved away, he drew closer to his kids, and people might scratch their head and go, well, how does that happen? But you have to live it to understand it, because of what his changes are. He was able to pull closer to his kids, and Jay making also a decision to pull closer to his kids, and now both of his kids are excelling in sports and whatnot. And so we celebrate that. I promise you guys that. I want to ask a quick question, and I'll start with you, Brother Matt, and that is, how is fatherhood different than what you imagine? Now, before you answer that, remember the first day that your wife came home and said, I'm pregnant, or you found out that you were getting ready to have that first one. You immediately started thinking something. So how is that different than what you actually are living or imagine to now?
I mean, I guess quickly, just like I said, to keep it fun and light. My father was present all of our lives. I have 3 brothers, so there's 4 total of us. And what I imagine of fatherhood is pretty much what I'm getting, because I saw it quite regularly. But I also married into a plus one. So when I got married to Tiffany, she already had a 8-year-old son, Makana. And so fatherhood for me started immediately. We went through counseling, talking about how we were going to merge our families, how he was going to be grafted in, how he was my son, like anybody that, we would birth later. So I was kind of thrown into the fire immediately. But upon hearing that we were pregnant with Judah, our second son, it definitely was it was crazy to hear it, to see it, to know you were going to have another kid between the two of you, to pretty much, cement that union. But we also didn't know the sex until after he arrived. So we named Judah, went through the whole pregnancy, and I didn't realize it until, he comes out. So that was actually one of the most crazy surprises, highest highs I've probably ever had, because you're sitting there like you already know him. You know the name, the meaning of the name. And then when he arrives, it's kind of like, oh man, I kind of knew that this was happening. So it was kind of weird, but definitely excited, definitely just proud for that moment. And it's, it's happened every one after that. We have 4 total, and we also let our 4th one be a surprise. So yeah, for me, it's been fun.
For me, as soon as she told me, I'm not gonna lie, I was very nervous. If you let my dad tell it, I came home and clinked the whole house. Because I was just like, man, like, I'm 21 years old. I still got a basketball dream. I'm still in school, and like, I'm still like really a kid. Like, I'm still buying Jordans. I'm still, going out with my friends, just doing me. So it was kind of like, I gotta hit a reality. Like, okay, I watched my dad be in my life from day one, and he's still in my life. So as soon as I let it marinate, and I told my parents, it was kind of like all right, so how am I gonna make this work? I got a lot of people telling me, oh, you're done with basketball, that all that goes out the window. And then I had people kind of just like, pursue your dream and all that good stuff. So I just, going based off of kind of what you guys were saying before the last question, you guys made sacrifices. And so that's what I had to learn, is like I had to sacrifice, whether it was sleep, whether it was, oh, I can't go out with my friends, or whether it was, oh, I can't buy the new J's. And, if you know me, I love to shop. I love it. And I shop for him just as much. But I just know that my life definitely changed. Like it was like I wanted to be the best dad possible. I wanted to have that same relationship that my dad has with me and my brother, not to exclude my sister, but there's a different bond. And so I just wanted to make sure that at the end of the day, when he's 21 years old or about to have his own kid, he can be like, my dad was there. I got this from my dad. I got that from my dad. And it's been a blessing. Like I honestly love it. There's not one day where I'm like, man, I should have pulled out, man. So it was
Kobe had a bad game.
Yeah. I got told my dad, Kobe can't have 30 every game. So
So Orlando,
yeah.
Tell me this, bro. What was the significance of cleaning the house? That's what I need to know. Like before you tell Pop, hey, were you like a religiously like just leave stuff everywhere, dude? And it was all of a sudden you was like, I got some bad news.
So if you let my parents tell it, I got OCD, and I got
Hold on, Isiah. I'll answer that for you. He is just like you. In the fact, his closet has to be a certain way. His shoes have to be and like if he got a raggedy box of shoes, oh, they gotta go. He will go down to Nike and be like, I need a box. I mean, it's that bad. It's that bad.
It gotta be crisp. But no, it was just one of the things where I'm like, that was me, I guess, trying to think and grasp the whole situation. I'm not a person who's like okay, let me sit down and think. To me, I'm a go, clean, or let me go on a walk and let's think about it. Let's graft onto the situation. So like I said, it's been a blessing. I honestly, everybody has their own personal issues they go through, but I tell my brother all the time, I don't get how fathers can't be in their child's life, because this is dope. Like this is me to this day. He's 1 year old, I think 16 months to be exact, and I'm like, dude, he was asleep last night, and I was like, this is my child. Like this is crazy. Like you came from me like this whole time, and it's dope seeing like he's walking now and hearing him say dad, and I got to play in front of him for the first time, and it was just like, wow, now everything is not all Orlando. It's okay, let me do this for him, make sure he's straight, and then if I got the extra finances or time, let me go have some dad time. But it's been dope. It's been dope. And so thanks to him for setting the tone on being actively in our lives, showing up to games, and just showing us the ropes of how to treat a lady, how to respond to different situations, how to maintain a job, school, and for my case, sports. But I watched my dad work 2 jobs, go to school, be at the church every day of the week for some reason, and so I've been blessed for sure.
So what's one of the most favorite things that as a father that you are enjoying at this particular moment? We'll start with Jay.
One of my favorite things about being a father is the opportunity to do what wasn't done with me with my biological father. Doing all the things that going to their games, having that birds and bees talk, um, going go-karting, all the fun activities we do with our kids. You know, recently this year, like, you know, me and him got some real fast remote control cars. I think I asked somebody on the screen he should cop one so that we can go race. I know Isiah got one. You know, I'm not going to say any names, Robert Baker, but so I went and, you know, so we have remote control cars, the high powered things, you know, like there's things that you always wanted to do with your own father that you didn't, you know, I ended up, that's what became a favorite thing, doing those things I never got to do with my own father.
And or basically, I love seeing the potential that God placed in each of my children come forth. So, you know, like when I met McConnell, he was 7, skinny, sensitive, and now he's, you know, 6'4", you know, 220, about to play outside linebacker for the Dubs. So it's like to see the changes, to have all the inside jokes and the laughter, especially with Tiff and I, about what they've done, what they like. He used to catch butterflies in the yard and mess with insects. So it's like seeing all that come forth is really the blessing for me, and to have, you know, 4 of them and to watch them all have similar personality traits as each of us, how that's going to play out. Those have been the best things. And just being present, being able to travel, take them places, expose them to things, and how that exposure enlightens them, brings forth things out of them. We were just in Hawaii, and each of them learned something different. Like my 2 middle ones learned to swim, and they hated being underwater. So like they wouldn't have learned that if we're not, you know, vacationing for a few weeks and them having now this exposure.
You didn't force them out there, like, get out there.
Oh no!
Get out there.
Look,
go.
Hey, I'm the wrong one. I don't do any of that. I'm literally I'll open up a door, let it happen, and they kind of go. Especially, you know, with sports, like I like to see the fun, because, you know, as we all know, you got time, man. There's time to get serious. There's time to get trainers. There's time to eat right. Like I want them to be kids, enjoy life, and then as they develop, all that stuff can get honed in through time. So yeah, I just love sitting back and watching it.
Because I had my son at such a young age, I was 17, you know, and so Orlando, you got to clean the house. Man, I thought I was gonna get kicked out the house, player. You know what I'm saying? When you that young,
he thought the same thing too, though.
You know, so not having my biological father in my life on a consistent basis, for me, it was important to just enjoy growing up. So he and I kind of grew up together, and though we were, you know, we are best friends, my biological son and I, he still we have an incredible relationship. I think the best thing he's ever said to me is, I've never wanted to be like anybody but you. You know what I mean? And I know what my faults are, and I know what my limitations are, but that my son is still at 38 saying, dude, you're the cat I look up to, and you know, my biological, who I adopted when he was my adopted son, who I got when he was 11, Jamero, they were best friends, and still to this day, you know, that's my son. And I'm fortunate enough to work in the parks department, where I've helped, you know, to rear a bunch of kids, man, just to help raise a bunch of young people. So my joy right now is just seeing the fruits of all of that, man. Like I do a Teen Summer Musical, kids that were in my Teen Summer Musical, their kids are now in my Teen Summer Musical. You know what I mean? So to see all of that come back, and I'm not one of those cats that, you know, I'm humble and I'll stay that way, but I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you it doesn't feel good when somebody runs up on you and go, hey man, I'm doing this because I saw you when you did it. And you know, I got one kid right now that works for the parks department, and he said, Mr. Isiah jumped over 21 kids when we was little. He jumped over us wearing Jordans. And when I saw the bottom of the Jordans fly over me, I knew that's what I wanted to do in life. What kind of story is that? You know what I'm saying? I want him to tell that at a job interview, but still, it's a good feeling for me. So yeah, and all of that.
Wow. Brother DaNell, what's your thoughts on it?
I mean, just being able, best thing about being a father is starting to see the fruits, you know what I'm saying, and allow them to come into their own personality, you know what I mean? It just means a lot for me to see them, you know, athletically on one end, and then my younger son is more of a theatrical debater, you know what I mean? So it's just good to see that. I struggle. I struggle at times because there are certain things I feel as a father you want to instill as far as confidence in them. And so telling them they can do it over the phone doesn't have the same effect as being there. And so, you know, there are times when I want to encourage them the best way possible. And I've missed it. But, you know, to see them persevere through all of that, I feel like it's going to come back around full circle later on. You know what I'm saying? To see that fruit as well. So, yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna help you
Right.
find.
Yeah,
I'm gonna help you find an apartment, DaNell. I know you coming back, pimping. I just feel it. Something about it says you coming back.
Well, let me kind of shift it, the conversation just a little bit, and kind of get on a more serious note. So the recent killings of George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, and so many others that were killed. How did that affect you as a dad? And I'm going to start this question off with Orlando, being that he is, you know, he's a newer father. So how did that affect you as a dad? And what are your thoughts on how you shifted, on how you change your conversation with your kids when they're going out doing certain things? I'll start with Orlando. I know Orlando's, his son is 1, but still, how does that change how you looked at becoming a father?
It was scary, honestly. I went into a point where I was like, okay, how do I groom my son into, okay, stand up for yourself and do what's right, but at the same time, protect yourself. Or you, how am I trying to say this? Like, I don't want him to be like, oh, you know, to where he's standing up for himself, but then he has to act different towards the cops, if that makes sense. Like, so I'm trying to figure out how do I make, like, teach him that, you know, it's okay to speak up for yourself, but don't say that to that cop because this could be the result. And so it sucks. Like, it sucks, especially as a dad now. I look at killings differently. One of my friends that I went to school with since 2nd grade, he just was killed the other day, not by the police, but just a killing in general. Like, he was probably 130 pounds soaking wet, and you know, he was a good dude, just fun to be around, and he was robbed and killed, and he was same age as me, and it makes me think, like, how do I teach my son to survive in this world, whether it's the cops, whether it's gun violence? It's like, it's very frustrating, and I'm still learning myself. Thank God I've never really had a real encounter with the police to where it's like, okay, you know, that I'm getting treated unfairly or I'm getting shot at, but I'm not always going to be there for him. And like, it's like physically, you know, he's going to get to a point where he's going to start going to parties and, you know, going to college. So it makes me like kind of dig deeper into like who I surround my kid with. What am I going to let him watch? What is he listening to, so that he knows that you need to always keep your guard up. Whether it's the police or whether it's some dude on the corner, always keep your guard up, and to, you know, just be strong and know that, like, my parents did a good job of, you know, letting us know that like, you come into the world with a black skin, you're already at a disadvantage. Right, you're already a target. And so, although he's on the lighter side, which, you know, we won't get into that, but he's on the lighter side, so it's like, you know, you're still black. They don't care. And at the end of the day, I want him to know that it's tough to survive in this world. Like I said, he's only 1. And he doesn't really, you know, he's not socializing besides, you know, saying what he got to say. What do you guys do?
Know, if I may, no, DaNell, you go ahead, Doc.
I mean, I was just going to say that is something I almost am guessing at, because my father never had to tell me that. That wasn't going down when I was growing up. And you know, I grew up in Rochester, New York, and I grew up in the suburb areas. And to be honest with you, I was in a safe place. I could walk up and down the street. I could go to the corner store. I could ride my bike, whatever I wanted. Now I have found myself having conversations without trying to be emotional and talking to my kids about how to carry themselves as young men. Just walk into the store. Don't wear a hoodie. Don't put the hood over your head. And if you encounter a police officer, look them in the face, be respectful, and let your energy give him a place to know that I'm doing what you're asking me to do. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, I don't feel like there's any absolute right answer, because if you look at some of the stories of the past,
Yep.
so we can only hope for the best. I personally, and I have this conversation with the mom all the time. I bought my son not one car, not two cars, but 3 cars. 3. Some of that might be just anxiety, because I don't want my son at the age of 16 to take public transportation no more. And I try and explain to him all the time, it's not because of you. I just don't trust society. Somebody can get on the bus and do something crazy. Like, and again, there's no rule, there's no right or wrong way, because anything can happen at any time. You could be at the mall at the wrong place. You could be at the grocery store. So I just find myself trying to figure out the right method to allow him to, and actually teach him in a manner where he doesn't feel my energy of being afraid, because he's going to ride off of that.
Right.
And sometimes my son be like, Dad, just relax, man. I'm cool, man. I'm cool. Like, you don't understand. And then because I'm in DC, you know what I mean? It's kind of like I don't know where he is at all times, and I don't want to be overprotective. So it's like I'm trying to figure out that bridge of allowing my kids to be free to be on their own. But in this society, you don't want to get that phone call.
First things first, let's all agree that the recent killings in this past year are as relevant as they are because the world finally saw what we've been dealing with on a regular basis.
Haven't happened here.
Right. The world finally saw it, right? The world stopped in order for them to do it, but they saw it. And so for them, it was like, oh my God. For us, it was like, what? So Orlando, with the conversation that many of us have talked about having with our kids, I absolutely had with my boys. Absolutely. And mine was based off of a killing on 23rd and Union. Where I said to my sons, listen, when the cops pull you over, yes, sir, no, sir. Keep your hands clear. Yes, sir, no, sir. Keep your hands clear. They tell you to get out, you tell them what you're doing every step of the way. Sir, I am not going to reach for the handle. Sir, I am now going to open the door. Sir, and it sounds like, whoa. Yeah. But I didn't ask my sons to do nothing I didn't do.
Yeah.
I use the term sir and ma'am to every male and female I talk to. So I don't specifically use it just to the cops. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a black man not trying to feel like a sucker to the police. You know what I mean? So I use that language with everybody. So when I encounter them, I'm like, yes, sir. No, sir. Okay, sir, as long as you know I'm getting ready to do. Right. So I do exactly whatever I preach to my sons is what I practice. Right. And it's unfair. And DaNell just said it. Ain't no right or wrong answer. You just running, you know, to see, hey, how do I make this happen? Yeah. How do I keep him? How do I make sure he gets home?
And you know, from my perspective, you know, the recent killings haven't changed anything that that I've known. It's been happening for as long as I've been alive and longer. You know, I grew up in the south end of Seattle, Seward Park, and Dunlap area, and we were jumped on the corner for Jordans, you know, when we were, you know, 10, 11, 12. So this is close to home, and although it's happened nationally and it's been recorded, it's the same old. And so for me, my parenting style, which like I said, Tiffany and I both agree on, is that I'm trying to protect innocence as long as possible. That's what I'm doing. So, you know, Makana's 19 and my youngest daughter is 2. So it's different for each of them. And it might alter when my daughter comes up. You know, Judah's 8. But at this point, 8, 5, and 2 are being protected. So they actually have never seen it. And I haven't seen any one of the recent killings on videotape. I cannot watch it. And it's a personal thing for me where I don't want that in my spirit in terms of seeing it, because I don't want it to jade how I look at people, how I look at the world. And so although I'm wise in my dealings and will teach my kids how to interact with everybody, at this point, they don't watch it. And it's more of a discussion from how they develop. So like I'm riding with Judah yesterday to his baseball game. We're going around Franklin and he sees all those white signs with all the names on them. He says, "Dad, what is that?" And I said, frankly, it's all people that were killed by police. And his immediate response was, "Dang, that's a lot of people." And so for him to hear that from me, he's a thinker. I know he processed that. We're gonna have a discussion about it probably in a couple days or a week. But I want to teach them as things come about, especially as they're sheltered now, but make sure that I protect their innocence as long as possible, because I don't want my 3, 6, and 5-year-old dreaming about police killing. I don't want them worried about, the evils outside of their house. Right now, I want them to be focused on school, watching out for each other, learn what they need to learn. And so what I hate is that society forces Black fathers to operate differently than white fathers or any other father. And so I want to make sure that they're protected as long as possible until I need to. And at that point, I can then share with them what needs to be shared. But at this point, man, with a young kid, I wouldn't stress, too much, man, because it's like that stuff it'll eat at you. And that's a personal experience.
Can I say something? It's interesting because when I was in Europe last year in Italy, I went through this rural area, and my promoter was passing through, and he said, "You see all of this? You see all these people?" And he said, "That man is 90 years old." And I said, "Okay." He said, "They haven't watched television in 20 years."
Exactly.
Wow.
He said, "This whole area has nothing. They don't watch television at all." I said, "Why not?" He says, "Because they protect their peace."
Yep.
He says they don't even know, they don't understand anything that happens on television. They don't know the sports, they don't know the politics, they don't know anything, right? And I took that and it was like, wow. So I transitioned that over, and that was right before the COVID, right? So when the city shut down and the country shut down, I was really bothered that there was no school, and the only thing my boys wanted to do was play on the PlayStation.
Yep.
Right? That's it. And I was saying to myself, I don't want this to turn into a major habit. But the truth of the matter is, right when COVID started, 2 months into that, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, all of these situations, the shootings, and it's kind of like, I felt good to the point where it's like, if all they're focused on is staying connected with their friends on the game, and they're not so involved, because at the same time with all these shootings going on, no disrespect politically, but we're dealing with Trump and we're dealing with all of these. It was so much going on for us to pay attention to, because we couldn't go nowhere and we were on house arrest. You know what I mean? Couldn't, shut down, right? And imagine if we made our kids sit down and watch what we watched. You understand what I'm saying? Because now that they're free, they would have to unpack everything that they've seen to be physical, present in society. So what you just said, it kind of helps me, because I'm wondering, do I need to put the pressure on them to prepare them so much for the killings? If it's going to happen one way or the other, or do I protect their peace as much as possible? But then I also understand what Isiah is saying, because you have to be prepared. You know what I'm saying? If an officer does come to you, there's a certain level of energy you have to give them. So it's kind of like, maybe you do it in a manner that's not so, that makes them nervous, but just say, hey, a reminder, just when you enter, say it's like, it's the presentation, it's how you deliver it, so it doesn't put anxiety on them. But what you just said really helped me, because I do want to protect the innocence of my younger kid, my 13-year-old, because once they get older, they're going to see it anyways.
To be clear, I had my conversation with my boys at 14. That's when that killing started. And they were starting to drive, and they were starting to do all of that. And so it was like important for me to like, yo, police stop you. Now, what's crazy is my son, my biological son, went to the military. He went to the Air Force. He did a tour in Afghanistan. When he came home, he shared with me he had post-traumatic stress disorder. I said, man, so was it that bad there? He said, I had it before I went, Pops.
Wow. Deep.
He said he had it before he left. The number of killings here in Seattle of young men and women who are friends of his that he had to deal with. And I didn't know that the death of my own mother, his grandmother, left him in that state. Orlando, you ain't got to worry about it right now. You got to worry about you. But him, keep him innocent, man. Keep him innocent as long as you can.
This is almost, I wouldn't say it's biased or sexist, but I'm more petrified of having a black son than I would be to have a black daughter.
I know, for me, the nerve that I had of when they started driving, and because you can go all the way back to even like Emmett Till, and as DaNell said, you don't want to get that phone call, you don't want to get that it come identify or whatnot, and I'm like Jay, if it means that I got to come pick you up and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I might be mad, but I get to go pick you up and bring you home. And we can have that discussion about why I'm picking you up at 3 o'clock in the morning later, but I at least get to pick you up and you get to lay in the bed and go to sleep, and we can have that conversation later. So, you got to do what you can to instill in them, and then pray and ask God to protect them wherever they're at, and trust and believe that they're going to do the right thing. So we got just a couple more questions. I know we're running a little out of time. This has been certainly a great conversation. I appreciate you guys' time and whatnot. There's a couple of more on a more lighter side. I see Isiah still got that little wrinkle on the side. I want to lighten him up a little bit. So let me ask you this. We've been talking about fathers and being fathers and what our fathers did. What's one thing that you do that your father would have never done?
Mine's easy. Putting my daughter's hair in a ponytail. He's never done that before. So I'm gonna take that one.
Okay.
Take that one for the king.
There we go. I've had a few ponytails in my life.
Because my wife would go out of town and I don't know how to do hair, so I would go to the store and buy hats. And throw a hat on her. Hey, let's go.
I started the blowout and the headband trend. She would never wear one, and then we were out traveling I think Yakima for a basketball tournament, and all I did was put the stuff in, got it curly, and went to Target and grabbed a headband. Man, they've been in ever since.
I think that like I was saying earlier, and I've watched my dad watch me interact with my kids. I am a firm believer in giving my kids a voice to teach them how to negotiate decisions, because it sets them up for situations when they get in the work field. If they have to talk for themselves, if people ask them what they feel, they can stand up for themselves. And my dad always say, "Well, you better than me. I would have. You know you shouldn't have." But it's kind of like, I don't want my kids to, like, I'm afraid of my dad right now. I got a lot of whoopings when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? My dad is about 60-something years old, and I probably have more strength than him. But if he looks at me a certain way, it's just because of what growing up. And I don't want that kind of relationship with my kids. You know what I'm saying? I kind of want them to feel like they can talk and feel like they can negotiate. And I give them that tone of, this is a non-negotiable situation.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or what do you think? And if I still feel like I have my decision, I'll let them speak, and at least to get it off their chest. And then I come back around with what I said in the first place, so they know that it's nothing that I don't hear what they're saying, but this is just where I stand on. You know what I mean? So that's just something I know my father would do. Say it again.
Until they get older, DaNell, then they be like this: "Hey, Dad, you do know that you left us in a no-win situation. We understood that. We knew you was just letting us talk." So
right. Yeah, but it's practice. Yeah.
I'll say, my dad will be 80 years old September 1st.
Nice.
And so it's a blessing that the relationship we have now is not the relationship I had up until I was 32 years old. My dad was the birthday Christmas dad, and for a number of reasons that I found out later in life. I'm also a black man who never heard a grown black man tell him he loved him until he was 32 years old. And having a son at 17, I couldn't imagine not telling my son how much I loved him. But I know what I do that my dad would have never done. My dad is a coddler, like all my siblings under me on his side are all, very much dependent on him. And I always say to them, man, I pray nothing happens to this dude, because y'all ain't gonna know what to do. And my mom raised me very independent. And so I did that with my boys. And so I know my dad would have never done that. My thing was going out and do what you're going to do. Just know there's consequences to doing what you're going to do if you do the wrong thing. Yep. You know what I'm saying? You can mess around and mess around until you ain't around to mess around if you keep messing around. But I wouldn't use that word. I wouldn't use messing around. So anyway, yeah.
So I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna tell him to tread lightly.
Orlando.
Honestly, this is a tough question for me because as a child, we had a lot of fun. My dad was literally involved in everything we did. He was at the school, like it could be a normal Monday, no holiday, no special. He was just after school, hands-on. He was the president for our football team. So and I know Deuce is kind of young, so it's like I don't know. Okay, this one. I went and got his ear pierced.
I would have never.
Whoa!
we went and got his ear pierced.
He's 1 year old?
Huh?
He's 1 year old?
He was like 7 months.
He's 1 year. He's 7. He got it done at 7 months. Got both of them pierced. I would have never.
And that comes from my bag of I'm trying to look.
I'm pretty boy different after that.
So I would say that, but for the most part, like my dad was just very hands-on, and it's not like there wasn't something that he did that was so crazy to where, or that I'm doing now to where it was like, oh, my dad would have never done that. It's like I feel like I'm taking a page out of his book, multiple pages out of his book of being there for him. It could be little things like reading or and I know he probably don't know too much of nothing, but taking him to the park, who knows? That might go a long way for him. So that's a tough question for me because like I said, Deuce is so young, but probably just the ear piercing thing. He was upset. Like my dad's the type of dude that's like, live your life, you're gonna make your own decisions, but I'm not paying for it. That's when I asked to get a tattoo, I don't get when you're of age, I don't care. He's just not paying for it. And so when we went and got his ears pierced, he was like, didn't I give you guys the option to choose whether you wanted your ears? Because I didn't get my ears pierced till I was 18. So that was kind of like my dad, he's not going to approve of this. But yeah, I did. And do I regret it? No, I'm not going to lie. I don't regret it. But,
but Orlando,
when he grows up, go ahead.
So dip to your left real quick. Yeah, just dip a little to your left. Your left. Don't do that. You see that portrait? That portrait entitled, hold up, the portrait entitled The Bow Tie and Two Figures.
I'm still trying to tie a bow tie.
Jay, what's something that you do that your dad would have never did?
Play sports. My dad's sport was women. That's what he told me. And he's been telling me for the last 15 years. He has a wins-loss record to prove that. But yeah, he doesn't play sports, and it's amazing to me that he doesn't, because when I was a freshman in college playing basketball, we went to the court in a court in Chester, Pennsylvania, Memorial Park. That was like Chester's Rutger Park, if you will. He never dunked a basketball before. This dude, what, 40-something years old at the time? You know, like, oh, I can do that with boots on and Dickies. I sprinted. I raced against him in a parking lot. I kid you not. It's a mall called Tri-State Mall in Delaware. We started at the bottom. He wasn't even laced up all the way. He gave me the business. And in college, I was a point guard. I ran line drills of suicides almost at 25 seconds. He gave me the business. So I was like, man, why aren't you playing these? I probably wouldn't be here if he played sports. So I'm kind of cool that he chose the sport he chose, because, you know, they had me like you had Marcus Isiah at what? Okay, not 17, actually 15. But yeah, that's just something that just wasn't his thing. And
you would have probably still been here because his sport was women.
He was a musician, though. That's the one thing he did do. I don't do that. I don't. He learned how to play the guitar, you know, by ear. Like, he loved Jimi Hendrix. He tried to live his lifestyle, if you know what I mean. That was his thing.
Wow. So let me ask you. So that's what your dad wouldn't do. But what are some things that you do that are just like your dad that surprises you?
I can hit that one since I finished last. I love my kids. You know, my dad wasn't in my life like that, but he loves all of us. And there's never a phone conversation that we've had since I've been able to have conversations with him where I leave feeling like, although he wasn't present, I can feel that he loves me. He expresses it in his conversation with me. He tells me that he loves me at the end of every conversation. And that's big. I mean, yes, maybe I didn't have him telling me bedtime stories at night. And he might not have made any of my games or any of the other activities that's associated with being a father. But when I encounter him every time with a phone conversation, even when we met in person, it always feels like he was there when he wasn't. And present day, I try to do the same thing with my sons. Even if I, you know, get on their case, I let them know that I love them.
I try and make sure my kids want for nothing as far as their resources. And that's something that my dad made sure happened for me. I remember one time we had an ice storm back in New York, and the power was out. And I remember looking around the house trying to find my dad, and I got upset because I couldn't find him. That was the first time I was like, my dad, like, I'm gonna protect him. My mom's in the house, the power's out. I was looking for him like I was gonna do something. And the last place I checked was, and I was hungry. The last place I checked was the garage, only to find my father in the garage on the gas grill making breakfast. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so it was almost like he had this by any means necessary mentality. And so I found myself doing that when I was over in Europe. There was like a 9-hour difference, and I would do shows, and we were ahead of time. So our 4 o'clock in the morning was the 7 p.m. start time of my son's basketball team. And so I would get done with my shows at 10 o'clock at night while everyone was having a little, you know, let's hang out afterwards. I would go to sleep because at 4 o'clock in the morning, I literally would be up like I was watching my kid's mom, which none of this would happen on a side note without that's the co-parenting piece that I could write a book on. But anyways, she would literally take her cell phone and FaceTime me, and I would watch my son's game through the cell phone. And so at 4 in the morning over in Europe or Norway or wherever I was up watching the game, and he could look in the on the timeouts and see me there. And that was the thought of knowing that no matter what happens, I'm always going to be as present as I can be for my son. And that's what I found from my father doing that for me.
Growing up in church so much, like we were at church all the time. And as a youngin', I didn't like it. I'll be honest, I was just like, man, we got to go to church again. We got to sit in the car. He got rehearsal, then Bible study, then this, that, and the third. So, but now I find it very necessary to be at church, especially with my son. So that is something that I'm like, wow, like this is, my dad had us in church. Like, well, of course my mom too, but my dad was always involved in church, and so now I see myself making it mandatory that I get up for church every Sunday, reading the Bible, just because I see, if I say so myself, I came out pretty good, and so I want the same for my child. So I would say the going to church, being there so much, I didn't think I would like it, but now I'm like, I'm going to church every Sunday.
DaNell, you see him shouting church the other day?
See my what?
Did you see him shouting church the other Sunday?
No, I didn't see it.
What? Oh my God, you got to go back and watch that one.
No, mine is simple, bro. I'm a busybody. I'm a jack of all trades. My dad is 80. He'll be 80 in September. I'll call him tomorrow morning, as I do every morning, and I'll be, what you got going on? Oh, I'm just over here loading up a load on the trailer and the truck down here. This one dude had 4 refrigerators and 6 dryers, and dude, you retired at 60. Chill out. And man, if I stop moving, I'm gonna stop living. And I said, okay, I'm not mad at you. And that's me. I find myself, I don't care what I'm doing. If I'm in the yard, I'm at the theater, I'm at work, I'm always doing something. And I got that from him. And I'm like, man, at some point I gotta slow down and chill.
Awesome. Matt.
Man, mine's, like I said, easy too. Growing up, mom and dad ran an appraisal business. I watched them. Hard work, wasn't sexy. I told myself I never would do it, and I did a whole different path. Went to school, engineer, and somehow I find myself back in the same house. We have a multi-generational home together. It's been a blessing. And my wife and I are running the same business, just different.
Wow.
So it's like,
Wow.
yeah, I wouldn't have called it, but yeah, to be in this position and to have, my license is slightly different than his. We run it slightly differently, but same kind of general gist where, family business. I'm just hoping I make it look a little sexier than he did.
Shout out to Reese Realty. So I want you all to do something. I heard you guys a lot talk about being with your kids and the joys of being a father and whatnot. So what I want you to do, and I'll start with Isiah because he's a senior of all of us fathers on here. What I want you to do is speak to your kids and give expression about 1 minute. Just speak to your kids, give expressions to your kids on how you are going into Father's Day. We're looking at Father's Day being in the next few days. As you're going into Father's Day, speak something to your kids that you want them to hear about you being their father.
Real simple. I'm more than blessed. They say God gives you, he will supply your needs, and then he'll give you anything you request of him. And with my sons, God gave me 2 boys who I say I'm very proud of, and think that without the blessings, I just don't know where I'd be, man. I just thank God that he allowed me to be in their lives and to be a father to many. And I just want to thank them for sharing me. My biological says that a lot. I've shared you with so many for so long, and I'm not mad about it. So I thank them for that.
To Joseph Raymond Jr. and Victor Raymond. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for embracing your lovely stepmom and my wife, Michelle Lang Raymond, and how you guys have answered the call in terms of doing things that I've asked you to do, and that's to try to be the best at whatever it is you're doing right now in your life. And I'm just thankful that you guys love and have supported me through the tough times that we've had in recent years, and how you just living life. You're doing life. You're not allowing anything or anyone stop you from trying to be and do whatever it is that you want to do in life.
Miles and Christian, I love you. And I know these last 5 years have been difficult as far as the day-to-day interaction that we have been used to having, but we've made the best out of it. And, I'm excited for your futures. You're both brilliant leaders in your own right. Continue to make the right decisions. Thank you for respecting your mother. That's the first example of how to treat a queen. And we're going to continue to grow as young men. I think about you every single day. Everything that I'm doing at this point is because of you and for you. And so I'm excited for your futures, and I love you, and let's continue to live life the way God ordained it.
That's awesome.
Deuce, thank you very much for being here. You fought to be here, and that alone, you changed my life. And just because you have my name does not mean you need to follow in my footsteps. You are your own person. I've had a very good example of how to be a father, and not even just how to be a father, how to be a human. And I hope I can be that example for you on both ends with my dad and even with his other grandfather. Both of them are what I like to say stand-ups, not in a bad way, but stand up because when it's time to man up, they stand up. They don't run from their responsibilities, and I hope that you are peeping the game that is amongst you. I don't call all people like elderly people OGs just because they're older. To me, OG means offering game, and so I just hope that he gets to pick up on things that I didn't pick up on, miss the beats that I missed, and I've done a lot in my time. I've sacrificed a lot, and so it's yours now. Take whatever that you get from me and your own knowledge and flourish in this world.
Right. Brother Reese.
Man, perfect. Appreciate this opportunity. To my four, Makana, you represent love. Judah, you represent joy. Micah, you represent boldness. And Joshua, you represent faith. You each have brought those words to our lives. And I am just blessed that God gave you each to Tiffany and I. And I just wanted to tell you I love you guys. Want you guys to live up to what God has placed in your lives. Know that every sacrifice that we've made is for your benefit. And we want to just continue to expose you guys to life and make sure that you have all of the tools you need to be successful and to fulfill what God has placed in your life. So just know that we love you and want you guys to be the best that you can be and to just love people, be great human beings, and protect one another.
Can I go?
Right now,
that was real good. All of them.
I'll end it with my three. Torrance, Olanda, and Zaria. Three jewels that have been in my life. Starting back in 1995, and has completely changed my world and forced me to be a better man, forced me to be a protector, forced me to be a father, forced me to be even a better husband. And I promise that there would never be a day that you would have to look up and have that story of my father wasn't there. I do everything that I can for you. I'll do it. I did it back then. I'll do it now. Even though you guys are adults now, no, there's nothing that you can't ever come to me and ask me for. I love you all dearly. You guys have been, like I said, you've been a rock and a jewel to me. And in fact, to the point where I've even had to sit you down and ask for advice from you all on certain things. And I appreciate the fact that you guys are willing to sit down and have that conversation with me to help me out and even some decisions that I need to make. I love each and every one of you. The sky's the limit. There's nobody that can stop you. So keep reaching, keep pushing. You guys will flourish. I'm excited about your future. So with that, I really appreciate you guys. You guys just don't know how much Jay and Isiah and Matt and DaNell, I really appreciate you guys. You all are special and to me more than what you think. You guys, we may not talk every day, but you all definitely are people that I lean on to help me become the better man that I've been called to be. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time out today, being on this call. Landa, I appreciate you for, helping your dad out and being here and help me push through this conversation. We are Acts on Stage. We certainly appreciate you all's time of watching. We know we went a little long today, but we appreciate the fact that you took the time to watch us and see what we're talking about. Please look out for us, actsonstage.com. You can go to our Facebook page. You go to our website. We're also located in West Seattle, 10806 12th Avenue Southwest in the White Center area. Please come up and see us. We got some exciting things coming up here in the next few months. Mr. Isiah is certainly one that is on our board and also one of our co-founders. Please reach out to us. Michelle Raymond, also one of our CEO actually. So please reach out to us. We'd love to connect with you on whatever level that we can. If we don't have the answer, I promise you, one of us on this call or one of us at Acts on Stage will help you find the answer. So with that, we thank you. Happy Father's Day to each and every one of you fathers. We love each and every one of you. You guys have a great one. Love you guys.
Love you, man.